Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and today we're going to take a look at mainly mint on card vintage Star Wars figures, Kenner and Palitoy. Lots of Palitoy. Maybe not a lot, but definitely more than usual on eBay. A couple of mint and sealed box vehicles sold for big money. Lots of interesting prices. As you can tell by this thumbnail, another graded Droids Boba Fett sold for a song and a dance of a price. And that is one that has really dropped in price. We just covered one that sold on Heritage, and congrats to a Patreon supporter and friend of mine that was able to pick that up on Heritage. That was a big pickup. Congratulations, Gary M. Really big item there. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we got here. This is an interesting one I sent to my Patreon supporters. It's a CAS graded 90 shelf talker for The Empire Strikes Back. And so if you're not familiar with what those are, these molded logo shelf talkers were basically slid on retail shelves to advertise at point of sale display to try and attract kids' attention. Empire Strikes Back, new line of figures. So very cool to see one of these sell. And this was graded CAS 90, and you can kind of see some different angles there of it. Really nice encapsulation format by CAS. I like how they do that. It's got kind of an inner liner around the shelf talker to keep it in place. And I wanted to see if there's anything else specific on it. Pictures show imperfection. The only issue is a piece of the acrylic that holds the shelf talker sign in place broke within and is now loose inside. So maybe CAS didn't do that great of a job on the encasing since one of it broke. But this is a pretty long item, so maybe it broke in shipping. I probably would have sent it back into CAS. If you get something that's broken with CAS or AFA, to my knowledge, and you submitted it yourself, you can send it back into them, and they will re-encapsulate it free of charge. I think you might have to pay shipping back, but I had a broken CAS 85 grade the Turkish bootleg Uze AT-AT driver. It was like an overstock, really expensive item where the arms and legs were never attached. It was all unpainted, non-sonic welded. And I bought it already broken. I bought it on like Etsy or some random website. And it was already broken. It was all fully disclosed as such. And I bought it and I sent it back into them expecting to pay for it. And CAS said, no, our encapsulation process did not hold up. So we're doing it free of charge. And they did not charge me anything. They didn't charge me return shipping either. So, that's probably why this one only sold for $500. I remember when this one ended, I was like, wow, that's only sold for $500. I don't look too closely at the details on some of these until after they close. So it did have a broken kind of acrylic piece inside it. But this is one, it's a CAS 90, shelf talker retail display sign. So I would send that back. If you happen to be the person that bought it, send it back into CAS and see if they'll re-encapsulate it for you free of charge. Maybe they'll charge you. I don't know. But anyway, that's been my experience in the past. They always do a good job of standing by their work. So anyway, that one did sell for $500. Here were two mint and seal box vehicles that sold. This was a original X-Wing fighter on the Star Wars. This is not the, well, it is the original long play logo. You can see down there. Long play logo. Now, the box was not in perfect shape, right? This is like a 70 grade at best, but it's still factory sealed. So you got to pay a lot of money for it. It sold for $14.75. And then the same seller also had a mint and seal box Slave 1 that was actually in pretty good shape. Much better condition than the X-Wing. And, it has some creases here and there, but this is probably like a 75 plus grade at worst. Factory sealed. That one sold for $21.64. That might hit the 80 grade too. I don't know. It's just, you never know what you're going to get. I've seen some 80 grades from AFA in worse condition than this. So this one very likely could get the low 80 grade on this one. So $21.64 on that. And someone asked me on this one before it ended what I thought it would end for. I was thinking $2,500. That was my guess before the auction ended, but it came in lower than that, $21.64. Very nice Slave 1. Two different Tauntauns that sold. First is the Canadian example. You can see right here somewhere, there is the Canadian logo on it. If I can find it, there it is. La guerre des étoiles, l'Empire contre-attaque. This is the Canadian box for the Tauntaun, and this was factory seal as well. That one sold for $575.50, and then here was a graded Palatoy example, now with open belly rescue feature, and it's got that beautiful Palatoy logo in the lower right-hand corner. This was graded UKG 80%. That sold for $426, which I thought that was a really good deal. Now, it had some sticker residue there in the upper right, but I don't know, man. That to me seems like a steal of a deal. $426, and it was in the U.S. It was in Hawaii, but it was another $20 shipping. So let's call it $450 for a UKG 80% mint and sealed box Palatoy Tauntaun. That's a mouthful, and yes, please, I would pay that all day long. That was a really good deal in my mind. A couple of R2-D2s sold. I don't have them in R2-D2 order, but this seller had a bunch of really nice ESBs that were for sale. None of them were perfect. All right, so the blister on this one obviously heavily dinged, but it's a first 12 R2-D2 on the very last card back, the 41 back, I believe, before they switched over to the sensor scope, which was the 45 back, to my knowledge. That one sold for $491.69, and so even in that condition, this is like at best a 70 grade. Because of the blister, but it still sold for a lot of money because it's the last one before the solid dome R2-D2s switched over to the sensor scope. We got some more R2s in a second. Here's a beautiful 2-1B medical droid. The blister has the issues that we talk about all the time. Just weird heat seal issues around the stems, a lot of waviness, a lot of kind of pulling away from the card. It's just a notorious issue with a lot of the factories during the Empire Strikes Back run of mint on cards. So don't get too frightened by that when you see that. The grading companies understand that. If you bought something like this and sent it in to be graded, I'm not saying it would get a high grade. This would probably get a 75, maybe an 80 at the very upper end. But the grading companies account for the fact that out of the factory, they had really weird factory seals on these blisters. That one sold for $224.50, which I thought was a good deal. You can see the wear on the back there. This is a Unitoy factory. It's got the U stamp below the proof of purchase, but it's got a lot of edge wear to it and a lot of kind of spackle. I don't know what you want to call it on the back of the car. So this is probably like a 75 at best, but $224.50 is a good deal. That's a good price. Death Star droid on the 41A survival kit. I always found this one to be not nearly as, like for Empire Strikes Back card backs, the hardest to find is like a 48 back offerless. That's very tough to, or the 41, I guess, offerless. Any offerless ESB Death Star droid, it's very tough to find and very expensive. But the 41A is not too bad. It's usually pretty easy to find this one. And that's why it sold for what it did. It did have some crunch in the lower left-hand corner. Nice blister, though, unpunched. $335, pretty good deal. I think in higher grade, probably $500. I think I paid $550 for my CAS 80 plus grade, somewhere in that ballpark. Here was the 47 back free 4-LOM offer Sand People. One faint crease by the name pill on that one, but crystal clear blister. $442 on that one. I don't know if people just didn't see that crease or what, but $442 seems a little high, given that you're probably getting a 75 score for the card. Probably still gets the overall 80 though, so whatever. It's a nice example. I'm not trying to say it's not nice. Here's the Palatoy R2-D2 sensor scope. So this is the 40, I think it's a 45 back. Let's see. Yeah, 45 back. It's got the Star Wars Bounty Hunter offer. And so Blacked Out Ewoks reminded me on this is that the offer on these is for the Dengar mail away. We didn't get a Dengar mail away here in the U.S., but you guys in the UK got that Dengar mail away. We got the Star Wars display arena on the 45 back, which is lame. I'd rather have the Dengar. I mean, the Star Wars display arena, the art on the cardboard is really cool, but you're basically paying for cardboard and some big, ugly L-shaped Tetris-style plastic pieces. I'd much rather have a baggy Dengar. That's personal opinion. I'm a little biased, admittedly, okay? I like Dengar. But this one was ungraded. It was unpunched with the yellow blister. That one sold for $390. I don't know. That to me seems like a pretty good deal for... I mean, anything that's got the ESB Palatoy logo, I always feel like they're pretty expensive. So, again, it is yellowed, but $390 is a pretty good deal there. And then here is a 48-back A offerless R2-D2 sensor scope. Again, yellowed blister, but pretty good shape. Probably about an 80 grade, if I had to guess, for the condition of that one. That one sold for $411.50. I would think that an offerless clear blister R2 sensor scope in this kind of condition, it would probably be $600 to $800. That's my guess. I'm sure we've talked about one in past market updates, but I don't remember. But I vaguely feel like sensor scopes on these early card backs, 45, 48 card backs, they're pretty expensive if you can still find them in high grade clear blister. Next up was a Revenge of the... It's like eBay is taunting me, okay? Because I lost out on the clear blister 48 back Revenge of the Jedi Bosk that was in the last Hakes auction. Some guy just would not let it go. He kept outbidding me, so I said, I give up. And so this one got listed about a week or so ago. It sold for $310, yellowed blister, unpunched with the Kmart price sticker. Probably a 75, maybe a 80, a low 80. But if I'm going to get one, I'm going to hold out and try to find one with a clear blister. That's my goal. And I probably will still be saying this 5 years from now, okay? I probably should have bid more on the one on Hakes, but as I talked about in the Hakes video, it had ink marks. It had check marks on the back. And, you know, I offered up, I think up to $600 or $700. I don't remember what the total was. It was like $700 or $800. If I had bid again, it would have been like $850. And I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to pay that for one that I don't think is worth it. This one did have some spider veins too in the upper right. So, you know, it's nice, but at $310, it's a good price, okay? I'm not trying to say that's a good price right there. But I think if I'm going to get one, I'm going to wait for a clear blister. And as I said, see ya in 2037 when I'm still saying the same thing. Next up is, this one got listed and then sold to a Patreon supporter that was overseas. And the seller would not ship it overseas. He didn't have it set up for global shipping program. So he relisted it, unfortunately. So it did get resold. Sorry, buddy. I know that you wanted this one. But this is the 48 back free Nyan Num. And this one did have some scuffing from where they unfortunately tried to remove the price sticker. Just leave the price sticker alone. All right. This thing would grade so much higher if you had just left it alone. Clear blister, unpunched. This one would have been a beauty if it just had the price sticker instead of the litho damage. I'd much rather have the sticker on there. It still sold for $346. If the seller, the seller may not have done this, okay? It could have been the person before him. But whoever originally took the price sticker off, they would have sold for double that price, if not more, if it didn't have that litho damage. But that one did resell for $346. Next up was a beautiful unpunched clear blister Darth Vader 65 back A. And this one, you know, it looks like it's just sticker removal, but it could be ink touch up, okay? So if you happen to be the person that bought it, look really close in the upper right-hand corner to make sure that that's just sticker residue and all that. It looks to me like it could potentially have ink touch up to it, okay? So I'm not saying it does. I don't know for sure, but just be careful on, this seller doesn't, he's just a reseller. He doesn't like really look them over very carefully. So I'm not trying to accuse the seller of any hijinks, okay? He gets in big collections and he throws them on eBay at auction, and there you go. But this one looks like it's got ink touch up, potentially. I could be wrong. It could just be the shadow, you know, like the shadow on it. That one sold for $578. So if you happen to be the person that bought it, make sure you look at that really close, okay? Make sure it doesn't have any ink touch up. Use a black light if you have to, and black light will show whether it's got ink touch up on it. But that one did sell $578. Here was Yoda. That was a very slightly yellowed 77A. Beautiful. It did have a ding on the top of the blister. It sold for $575. So, again, you can see it's not bad, but let's see if we can find it here. Right there. Well, it's really not. Yeah, there's really no ding on it. It's pretty nice. I'm turning my head sideways as I talk to you guys. There's something wrong with me, okay? But this is a nice one. This is a really nice Yoda. Now, if that had been a clear blister, you can double that price. Maybe not double, but close. Very nice example, though, of Yoda. And I don't see anything. I don't see any issues on the card with this one. But that was a beauty for $575. Really nice brown snake Yoda. Here was a Tri-Logo Rebel Commander 356, ungraded, but very high grade. And I think it would grade an 80 plus or an 85 potentially. It's very, very nice blister on this one. 356 seems a little high to me. I mean, I sent it to my Patreon supporters as the auction was ending, and it was like at 140. I didn't mean for you guys to pay $356 for it. I mean, I think that's a little high, personally. I wouldn't have gone that high, but it was, in all fairness, a really nice blister. One little ding on the front there, but I think that's an 80 plus all day long. Beautiful example of the Hoth Rebel Commander on the Tri-Logo card back. Next up was this is a beauty that was picked up by a Patreon supporter. This blister was really nice for a Tri-Logo Biker Scout. I think this one's going to grade very well. I don't know if the buyer is going to grade this or not, but it was picked up by a Patreon supporter using my affiliate links. Thank you for doing that. But look at that blister. This is the etched edge blister that we talk about all the time. That one is a beauty, though. It's got one little teeny tiny ding there at the top left, but this is going to grade very high. One little ding on the bottom left there as well. I think this one grades 80, 80, 85 all day long for an overall 80 plus. Look at the back of that card. That was a beauty. Now, it was listed for 300 pounds, which is $380, which I would have paid that in a heartbeat. But he got it for a deal. He made an offer. I didn't look up what the offer was, but that was a very nice Tri-Logo Biker Scout. And so they got that in a buy it now alert to my Patreon supporters. Congrats on getting that one. That was really nice. Couple of really high-end Droids items to finish things off. This is the US Droids card, unpunched, no price sticker, very, very lightly yellowed blister, AFA 85 A-Wing Pilot. And it was archival case 80, 85, 85. I mean, usually the blisters on the Droids A-Wing Pilot is very yellow. This one is only faintly yellow, and it sold for a ton of money, $4,141. Wow. I was expecting like $2,500, maybe at the top end $3,000, but realistically, I was not expecting it to get anywhere near $4,000. That is a big number. But in all fairness, I mean, look at that blister. It is as close to a clear blister as you're going to find for it, and that's why people paid up for it. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen this clear of a blister for the Droids A-Wing Pilot. It's almost always moderately or heavily yellowed, but this one was a stunner. So, you know, that just shows you how much people are willing to pay a premium for clear-ish blisters. As if that one wasn't nice enough, here was another one. Look how nice the blister was on this Droids Boba Fett. Very faintly yellowed, and it was an AFA 80. I can't believe it got the 80 subscore for the card. You can see where the sticker was attempted, the price sticker was attempted to be removed. So it did have light litho damage to it. If they had left it on there, I think that it could have gotten an overall 85. It had an 85 for the blister, 85 for the figure, the Taiwan Boba Fett, and it sold in an auction for 7,211 Canadian dollars, which equates to 5,239 US dollars. And I mean, wow, think about how far this has fallen. We talked about this in the last Heritage video. I mean, this thing during the Book of Boba Fett would go for like $13,000 to $15,000. And so it's dropped a lot in price. So if the Droids Boba Fett is one you're looking for, now's a good time to get it. I don't know if you'll necessarily see the price drop that much more. That's my personal opinion. Now, if we have a worldwide recession, things will be different. This will be like $2,500, but I don't see it getting that low. I really don't. I think this was a great deal, and the one on Heritage was a great deal as well. So, really good time to pick this one up if you're into the Droids Boba Fett. That is all I really had. I hope you enjoyed this look at recent sales for vintage mint on card figures, as well as a couple of mint and seal box vehicles and creatures. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.